We're recording.
Let's do this.
All right. Welcome back to the Dilemma with Emma.
And Brian Burns.
We missed last week. We should talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Why did we miss last week?
Well, I experienced a hurricane for the very first time. Not just any
Because you're
hurricane. It was
because
actually,
you're living in Florida
mhm,
instead of California where you used to live.
yeah.
And they brought a hurricane there.
I think I'm the one that brought it
You
because
haven't had a hurricane this bad in how long?
well, this was apparently the fifth worst hurricane to hit the United States.
Wow.
I will say I did get mildly lucky because it was headed straight for Tampa and it made a turn last minute.
But
So
you're but you were evacuated and you had to flee to Delray Beach. I
you're
know
t-
you really had to suffer there
no, I
and
was staying in a mansion. Suffering is a
I'm
very
joking. I saw the
well, but
pictures. It
I
was
did. Here's the thing is that when I evacuated to Delray Beach, a tornado hit and tore off houses, like roofs of houses, like 3 miles away from where I was staying.
oh wow.
So
So a little scary.
no, it was extremely scary. I will say this, that there are a lot of people where their situation is drastically worse than mine. I did not experience flooding, a missing roof, broken windows, and a lot of people, all their things are gone. So
You're thankful for
I'm very thankful
that.
for my experience during this. That being said, it did take a very large toll on me emotionally. I've never experienced weather anxiety, so that was a first. And we missed last week because I was juggling how to get through it, what the best practice what should I do during it? I was
Yeah.
freaking out. I had gone to Costco and stocked up thinking I was gonna hunker down and then last minute change plans. And I'm very grateful to have people around me that care about me and were checking in and just picked me up and we left the area. That was probably the best decision because I was in slight panic mode being here with no family and I think I'm still feeling pretty tired from it in a sense, not physically drained, but emotionally. So it's just such a taxing week. But we're back better than ever and ready to talk about this week's dilemma,
Can
right?
I can I just share one thing about that too? I was really blessed by the fact that I had two different people that reached out to me and said, if your daughter needs a place to stay, she's welcome here.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good knowing that I had these good, caring, concerned people with your best interest in mind when I was 2,500 miles away.
And can we give a shout out to my manager, Sandy, because she
Yes.
is one of my favorite people and just truly watched over me and fed me. She made sure I was okay.
Well,
Like
she took you to Delray Beach, right? She's the one that picked you up and took you
she
there.
took
And
me shopping. She really just
that's awesome.
she just stepped in and it just meant the world to me. So huge, huge shout out and to everyone that wants to help the people who suffered during the hurricane. There are tons of places you can donate money, clothing, anything. So I will
Maybe
personally be donating supplies to people. There's going to be people taking it down to the area that was damaged from our
maybe
office.
we can put a link in the bio
We
that
will put
gives
a link in the bio to help
place for
people.
people to link for people to donate.
Yes.
All right, sounds
Let's
good.
get into today's dilemma.
What
We
is today's dilemma, Emma?
get into it. We're going to be talking about, does more money equal more problems? The looming question. I think this is a big one just because As you get older, things cost more, you start making more. So it's kind of this, it's like an oxymoron in a way. You always want to get older,
Yeah. You want to get older, and then you get older and you're like, why did I
and
get
you're
older?
like, wait, why did I want to grow up? I'm having to pay bills now. Like, what is
Yeah. It's called adulting, right? Nobody likes to be adulting.
this?
So with more money, I believe does come more problems.
And I feel like I take a different stance.
Okay. What is your stance?
Not that I don't agree with you, but in some ways, I think more money solves problems.
It's true, it can, but
Mhm.
at the same time, it creates problems. And here's my reasoning. Here's my thinking. Like you've been recently looking at maybe buying a house, right?
Yeah.
But when you do that, now you've got this burden of a mortgage and electricity and gas and water and trash and all of these things that you don't have a choice. It's every month for as long as you own that house.
Mhm.
Another example of that is, let's say you get that house, you get an affordable payment, something that you can handle, and then you decide you want to buy a pool. Well, now you have a pool, which is nice, but having a pool means you have to either clean that pool every week.
But that's not having more money. That,
Well, you have to have more money to buy a pool, right? So as you get more money, you tend to start getting more possessions, right? And I think I've said this before. Sometimes these possessions end up possessing you because um, like with the pool, for example, you either have to clean it yourself every week or you have to hire somebody to do it and keep the chemicals up and make sure it's maintenance and all those things. Otherwise, it gets really gross really fast. Within like 2 or 3 weeks, if you haven't maintenance it and kept the chemicals up and that, it'll turn green. It'll just get really disgusting. And so it becomes a little bit of a burden on yourself.
yeah. So here's the thing is
It's a blessing and a burden.
I think some of those things are wants and not needs. However, in my situation, I do need a place to live, and apartments are costing nowadays just as much as rent is on a house. And so it's really difficult because you do need a larger down payment, and for closing costs, you need more money. But it doesn't necessarily mean more problems when you are, I mean, it doesn't. It's kind of a tough one. It's a need. So I feel like if I do have a little bit more money, it'll solve some of those problems. But like
Yeah.
you said, it does also, I don't know. It's kind of a tough one. But I think first off, we wanted to talk about like,
Well, let me say one more thing about this, if you don't mind.
yeah, no, go ahead.
So in the Bible, it says that the love of money is the root of all evil, right? Or the root of much evil. Um, and so I think
You have
that
to love money though, to
I
want
think
more for yourself.
No, I think you made a good distinction is that we do need money and it's not evil in and of itself, right? We need money to be able to have a place to live, to be able to purchase our food and sustain ourselves, food, shelter, those common needs. And so money is important and it can be a good thing. It is a necessity and it is in itself not bad, but it can cause problems if you aren't disciplined with it, I guess is the right term. So if I'm not disciplined with it and I overbuy and now I'm in over my head with my mortgage, or like I mentioned the pool and now I can't afford to maintenance it, or
Yeah.
I buy a big truck because I have this money to buy it, but
I,
now I've got to maintain it and I've got to pay for the gas.
mhm.
And big trucks, use more gas, and so it can. It's all about how you use the money.
Yeah.
How's that?
No, that's a good way to put it. And I do agree with you. Like a lot of times there's this it's not even a stigma because it's reality is people start making more and they can start affording more. However, what if one month you're not making as much, or what if one month you lose your job?
Yeah,
It's those things become burdens because you're no longer able to afford them. So, but then yeah, anyways, so you just want to be careful what you want versus what you need and making sure you're not in over your head on some of those things.
I have a book recommendation for that. I think I actually sent it to you,
The Greatest
maybe.
Salesman.
No, that's a good one too. But
Oh, The Richest Man in Babylon.
The Richest Man in Babylon, I highly recommend it. Maybe we can put
Very
that in the
good book.
bio as well. It's a great book to kind of help you learn to be disciplined with your money and use it for good, so to speak.
It talks a lot about that in The Greatest Salesman as well, though.
It does. There's a lot of similarities, and I think they're both great books.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on.
Moving on. That's kind of like what do they say on TikTok is unpopular opinions.
Yeah,
That's our take. That's our unpopular opinion on whether more money equals or doesn't equal more problems.
there you go.
Um, so a lot of times when you do start making more money, you start defining your worth by your job title, by your pay. Um, and that can drown your self-worth and the other ways in which you declare yourself worthy, I don't know, of certain things.
So I would say with that, it's important not to fall into the trap of comparing yourself with others. It's always been like, oh, well, what if what if I get to this level, or what if I get to that level? Right out of college, I wanted to get to the $50,000 salary mark, and then it was 75,000 and 100,000, and then, how much more above and beyond that can you
Yeah.
make? And it just seems like you really need to set your own personal financial goals, and with what you have, right? Whatever you're making today, set aside a certain percentage of that, because if you do it as a percentage, 5%, 10%, 15%, whatever that is, you set that aside, and it isn't as big of a burden on you than it is to say a dollar amount, because the dollar amount can be a bigger chunk of what you made than a percentage of it. So if you just get in the habit of setting aside that percentage, and if if you're a person that, of faith, and you like to tithe, and that's a percentage as well. Giving to your church or giving to a local charity is always good. And if you just do a percentage of what you make, then it's a lot easier to swallow, so to speak, because as you make more, it grows with how much you make, um, not as a dollar amount. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that very well?
You are. I do think it's good to set goals for yourself in terms of like, in a few years, I would like to be making more because this certain amount will help me, for example, get a house. But
Mhm.
I think it's important, to not define yourself or your worth by the amount of money you're making. I think we've talked about this in past episodes, but it's more about what you value in your life, um, such as family or significant others. That should define you and your friendships. Like that should define you more than the amount of money you're making.
Agreed.
And how good of a friend, how good of a husband, how good of a wife, how good of a person you are when you walk in the office. I think that means more than the number on the check, even though that number sometimes helps you for the things you want in life.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that sometimes we get caught up in um, thinking that we have to earn a certain amount to achieve, certain things in life. And really at the end of your life, you're not going to look back and go, oh, if I'd only worked a little harder, or I'd only made a little bit more money. You're going to really probably think back to relationships and the people that you love, and spending time with them, and doing the things which reminds me of the movie that I recommended to you
Yeah,
last week.
that's such a good movie, The Family Man. I called you like maybe three-fourths of the way through, and I'm like, this is the worst movie ever. Why did you recommend it? I think this, what it's kind of funny. I do this thing whenever I see people earn positions at different companies, and I'm going online looking up like how much does this role make at this job with this company?
Yeah.
And it goes back to the idea that comparison is a thief of joy. And a lot of times they'll think like, oh, I'm just a BDR doing this job. Like I'm not nearly as defined in my career as this person working at JP Morgan Chase, like as financial analyst or like as an enterprise sales rep doing this job. However, you have to take a look in the mirror and go, I'm going to be the best at whatever position I have.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what you don't know what those people's lives are like. What if they go home every day and they hate their job? They hate their managers. They hate the whatever they're doing. You don't know behind the scenes. So it's so important that you wake up in the morning and you find fulfillment in reading your Bible or going for a run or talking to your favorite people or just looking in the mirror and going, I love my job, I love my manager. That's the most important thing, like, is that you love your life outside of the check that you receive in the mail.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that in the morning. Nate and I have been getting up at 6:30 in the morning and listening to, or we listen to it because you can just press play, but you can also read it. It's the Daily Bread, and it's just a quick little um, devotion, essentially. Like it reads, a piece of scripture and talks a little bit about it. Takes like 5 minutes, and it's just a way that we get a little conversation in before our day starts. And we usually catch up on things in the morning, talk about our day, and have a cup of coffee. And it's just a nice, cool morning, out on the patio, and just an amazing way to start the day. It's been really great.
Yep. And it doesn't matter what, we don't talk about religion a lot on here, but it doesn't matter what religion you are, whatever your background is, the the point of this is to make sure you're filling your cup up before you're filling other cups up or before you're exhausting yourself throughout the day. So whether that's like us, we like to read our Bible, read the scripture, whatever. But if it's for you, it's making sure that you're going for a run or taking care of yourself before taking care of others. And so, yeah, that's where you find
That's
your
right.
fulfillment, and that's where you will learn to like define yourself in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. As you're going about your job search and you find if you were searching or when you were searching and you find two jobs that are very similar at two different companies, how do you choose? If they pay the same, how do you choose which one to go with?
Well, I think we've talked about this in a previous episode, and kind of a little bit with John Ader, our last guest, but it's really important that you love the people you're working for and with. And so ultimately, if it was pretty similar in pay and everything, I would just go based off of my gut feeling with them. It is tough. So say you're working for a company and your dream job at Google comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, imagine how cool it would be to say I worked for Google and to add it
Mm,
to my resume that I worked here with these people, that would really advance my career. That would really get me out of my rut. It's not the case. You're going to be in your rut no matter what. Your rut is within you because ultimately, if it's not the people around you, it's you. And you have to find other ways outside of your job to, like I said, find that fulfillment because the company and the title of the company, the name of the company, isn't going to be the thing that gets you going. It's It's just going to be how you want to attack your current role. Um, what's interesting is I recently had an interview with Lee Turner, and she's our co-CEO at Ceridian.
Hmm.
And we talked a lot about how, when she was going through her career, I asked her, what is one piece of advice you would give someone just starting out in their career like myself? And she goes, I've never asked for a raise. I've never asked to be moved up in a company. What I did was I stayed present, I stayed focused, I worked my hardest, and I stayed true to my values. And through my hard work, my self motivation, I accomplished the things I wanted. Things came to me because
Hmm.
I put my all into whatever I did. And I thought that was really cool because it wasn't focusing so much on what she could change in the past or what she's going to do in the future, but it's the impact she's going to make in the present and how she's going to impact the people around her in her here and now. And a lot of times it's really easy to go, if I would have done this differently, if I would have started saving for a house earlier, if I would have started doing this earlier, or, my future could look a lot different if I do this now. Instead of going, every day, I'm going to wake up and make it the best day I can because that
Exactly.
there's only going to be one Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. And that is so important when sometimes you're in the 9 to 5 jobs that feel like monotony. Learning how to make that day feel different so that you get more done and you feel more accomplished. That's so important rather than looking for, jobs here and there that have bigger titles or big name companies. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Let things come how they come and just make sure that you are the best version of yourself every day.
Yeah, I think you said it earlier. I really liked it that you don't find your worth in your job.
Mm,
That isn't where you find your worth and your value. You
yeah,
find it in those other things, in your faith, in your family, in your friends.
yeah,
Um, I think I did share this example previously, but I think it pertains to this as well. But when I was early in my career, I was looking for a job, a sales job, and I had two options. One was with a company that basically managed 7-Elevens, and I did a ride along, and they had made me an offer, and it would have included a company car, which seemed really cool at the time because I'd never had one yet. And I would, go around and help 7-Eleven owners improve their sales and so forth. And then the other job was at Ingram Micro, the opportunity there, but it paid less, and it would be inside sales. I wouldn't get a company car, and it wasn't as exciting of a role that I would start in. And so, um, I really thought deeply about it. And when I did the ride along with the 7-Eleven job, I realized that the primary products that they were able to really influence and improve sales with were the liquor and magazines. And um, the magazines that they make the most money on are the ones that are kind of behind the counter, if you know
yeah,
what I'm talking about. And so I thought about that, and it's like, do I really feel good about pushing these products? Is this something that, not that I have anything philosophically wrong with having, drinking alcohol. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it wasn't at the end of the day. So I felt better about the products I'd be selling at the technology products at Ingram Micro, and you can make an argument either way, really.
yeah,
But for me, that's what I decided. The products felt better. I felt more comfortable selling them, and I felt like I'd be more successful selling the technology. And and so even though it paid a little less, I took that job, and it turned out to be the best thing. I promoted quickly and moved up the ladder, and that was the other thing, is that there was more opportunity for advancement at Ingram Micro than there was at the other position. So I think you have to look at, those different variables, like where do you feel best? Like what product do you feel like you are most comfortable pitching? And what, company offers you the best advancement opportunities, or, how are you going to get to where you want to be the fastest or the most efficiently?
I don't even necessarily think it's just about products because, I mean, that's a good example for products. However,
Yeah.
sometimes there's going to be products you do feel comfortable selling, a job that does sound really good,
Yeah.
but sometimes you're going to be supporting the wrong people and they have bad work ethic, and sometimes you can't stand behind that. So,
Yeah.
but you know what they say, some people don't leave the job, they leave the manager.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to work for people that you like, with people that you like, and that kind of thing. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you just need a job and you're going to do what you got to do. But when you have that option, you have the ability to choose.
Yeah.
You want to, choose the one that you feel, even if the pay isn't as good, that you feel the best about doing, and that in your gut, you're gonna at the end of the day feel good about your day's work, so to speak.
Tell me what manager picks you up from your apartment and says, let's go. I'm taking you to Delray Beach. We're going to stay in the mansion because I'm not letting you stay here in your apartment alone during a hurricane.
And to be clear, this mansion was owned by a friend of hers. It
It
wasn't
was.
like,
It wasn't
yeah.
hers or anything, but
So again, I mean, the friend too, right? That helped her help you, and just it's really cool to see the love and care that people take for others, and in this case, your manager, and the care that she took with you. And working for somebody like that really makes you want to go the extra mile,
yeah, it does. You're like,
right? Sorry.
what?
So how do you want to wrap this one up? I
Well,
know. I know how we're going to wrap it up. Or did you have anything else you wanted to say about the topic?
no, that's it.
All right. So tell me what actress or actress would play you in a starring role?
Um, so the first one that came to mind was Blake Lively.
Who?
Blake Lively.
Okay. Nice.
What do you think?
I think that's a good choice. For me, I would say many people have compared me. I'm not really sure why, but Steve Carell. They've said that Steve Carell is and I have some similarities.
It's
So
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell from The Office,
Who does he play?
Michael Scott, the manager,
Oh, you're
the
not as
regional
funny as
manager.
he is.
True, I'm not as funny as he is, but he's not as good looking as me. So, there's the payoff.
That is true. That is also very true.
So I think Steve Carell, I think he's a really great actor too, especially in The Office. I know you've seen some episodes, and what's amazing about the character that he created on that show is that if you just look at him on paper, like the things that he says and the things that he does are terrible, and you should hate him, but you don't. You love him. He just makes that character so lovable that you look past, that deep in his heart, he's a good person, but he just says the worst things and inappropriate things. But you know that he's saying them with good intentions and a pure heart. So
Maybe I'm
it make,
more like an Amy Poehler then.
what's that? You would be Amy Poehler? I don't know. I think Blake Lively was probably more appropriate, or a young
What?
Robin Wright, Buttercup, and the Princess Bride.
Thank-
Yeah, so those are my thoughts on that.
All right. I think we finished what are we on? Our seventh dilemma.
Our seventh dilemma. Good job, Emma.
What was our goal?
21.
21. We're almost, no, we're a third
We're a
way.
third of the way. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for talking today. I know we talked
Yeah.
about a lot from hurricanes to more money, more problems.
Yes. And we have some things we need to put in the link below. So,
I will. So I'll catch you next week. All right.
all right. Bye, Emma.
Bye.